Champions Cup, Harlequins taking on Glasgow Warriors, and it's the home fans who will leave happy, with Harlequins getting a 24 points to 7 win. Not quite the bonus point they would have liked, so their future in terms of the next round remains a little bit uncertain. We'll need to see how the Sale against Toulon game goes tomorrow, but 3 tries to 1, home crowd in pretty good voice. Seemed like a pretty chilly day over in London as I was sitting here watching the game morning in New Zealand in summer. But yeah, first half, probably the half of the game to watch. If you were going to stick to the highlights, I probably wouldn't blame you for this one, because the second half, a little bit less kind of clinical in the finishing, we can put it that way. But we'll go through some of the key events and the stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts. I think Glasgow will be pretty disappointed, given that they can only score 1 try the entire game and coughed up a lot of ball. Their line out was pretty bad. But as I said, the Quins fans were in good voice from the get-go, and that continued on the entire game. They were a little bit frustrated early because they gave away a penalty when they were on attack for a little bit of obstruction, but then Glasgow, from their first chance, couldn't get the line out going, and that theme would remain throughout the entire game. Pretty frustrating. And then bad news for Scotland as Cummings went off with what seemed like a pretty nasty injury, but we'll kind of have to wait and see if there's an update on him. It was certainly, not ideal to start the game with such an important guy going off injured. First try of the game comes on the 14th minute. Cunningham South, who ends up getting man of the match. He ends up finishing it. It's a scrum. That man, Caden Murley, who was probably the best other candidate for man of the match, goes bloody close. Harlequins forwards go through the phases, and Cunningham South is able to power over for the first try of the game, 7 points to 0. Glasgow trying to hit back immediately, get a nice line break through Josh Mackay, but his pass to quite literally nobody was almost comical. So again, not quite the kind of finishing that you might have expected from Glasgow, who are usually pretty good at that kind of thing. They generate it, but can't finish it. Then Chisholm, who's playing in the second row for this one for Quins, he's able to get himself on the board. It's a line break from the scrum. Down the right wing, quick ball, which is the kind of key parts of the way Harlequins want to play the game. And then Cunningham South with the big carry, offloaded the tackle. And then Chisholm has got the gas to put the hammer down over for the try. So 14 points to 0. It's looking like pretty happy days for the Quins lads. And then even better so when Tom Jordan for Glasgow kicks it dead, only just, but it goes dead. Territory back down with Quins, and then they're able to make the most of that. When Glasgow concede a penalty, they opt for the 3 to make it 17 points to 0. You might argue that given the bonus point could be a factor in this one, they probably should have been going for the jugular, but it makes it a 3-score game, and at 14-0, yeah, you're still a touch vulnerable. You're only 1 score from making it kind of squeaky bum time, so you can kind of understand it. But in hindsight, it might have been nice to chase the bonus point. Handbags start on 26 minutes when Sutherland gets pinged for kind of backing into Tyrone Green, who's chasing a kick. He ends up getting penalty against him, which, given the score 17-0 down, I know that's the kind of thing which you might not get pinged for every time, but it's just kind of unnecessary. And Glasgow are on the wrong side of the penalty count in this game, so it just seemed a little bit silly. But they did get a much-needed try through Tom Jordan on 29 minutes. Only scoring of the game. Scrum. They go down the left wing. Kyle Rowe, McDowell, Dobby, and then Jordan's able to finish it. It is proper highlight-worthy stuff. So if you want to check out the highlights, that one is well worth a wee look. But they are still 10 points down at 17-7. But hey, 17-7 is at least game on. More Glasgow pressure follows, although it's kind of shut down by Caden Murley intercepting on the right wing for Glasgow. So the crowd loves that moment, was the Quins defence holds the Glasgow guys out. And they love it more when it looks like Waghorn is powered over for what would have been Harlequins' 3rd try. But that one gets TMO'd for a bit of obstruction in the build-up. So it goes into the shed 17-7. Quins have had way more territory. They've had way more ball, 59% possession. Glasgow's line-out, as I said, is looking shaky, and it doesn't get better. And Glasgow, despite having more ball, have also lost more ball. Turnovers conceded as 10-7. They've had to make like 90 tackles to 39. And yet when they've had the ball, they've not been clinical with it. So Quins, you feel like a pretty good value for a 10-point lead come half-time. Second half, and both sides start with a few errors, and that kind of continues for a while. You get Glasgow tackled into touch at one point. I think it's Kyle Rowe kind of gets carried into touch, which the Glasgow guys don't like. They come running in. There's a bit more handbags, and then Glasgow concede the penalty for running in, which is, again, given the penalty count is against you, you don't need to be doing that. There wasn't really anything in it, so it was a little bit unnecessary, but they get pinged for that one. Glasgow get another chance down Quins end, but they knock it on. Then they get another chance, and then they have a line-out error, which gets free-kicked. Harlequins get a chance down Glasgow's end. Chisholm knocks it on at the back of a ruck, or a maul, but the commentators, I think it was Ryan Wilson, wasn't it, started talking about the fact that Johnny Matthews is an Everton fan. Like, when the commentary is getting that sidetracked, you know that there's less to talk about on the pitch. So, that being said, we did get the kind of moment the game needed on 68 minutes when Caden Murley gets his try, which keeps the Harlequins chase for the bonus point alive. And again, it's a hell of a try. It's Glasgow on the attack from their own half, but then getting turned over. And the quick hands for Quins to spin it wide, Dombrandt, and then Murley puts the hammer down, gets the try, which makes it 24-7. So that's definitely game. Game is definitely over. It was probably over at 17-7 because Glasgow didn't look like scoring twice, but that's definitely game. When Murley scores, it does keep the bonus point conversation alive. They go close for it. Murley gets held up just short before full time. Before that, Glasgow had tried a little sneaky little short line-out move, but it wasn't straight. But the ref tells them short line-out moves, even if they're uncontested, don't qualify for that kind of new law about uncontested line-outs being able to continue if they're not straight because it was short. So that was a highlight of the second half. But yeah, Murley going just short was unfortunate for Quins, so no bonus point for them. But we'll see how tomorrow's game plays out. Possession finish at 53-47, so a little bit more even. Territory, though, is certainly with Quins, 58-42. The line-out percentages, neither is great. 77 for Quins. It's not a good number, but 63 for Glasgow is pretty atrocious. Line breaks, 4 apiece. Turnover conceded, 21-14 to Glasgow. That's how sloppy they were, just with ball in hand. Not as clinical as the Quins guys. Penalties conceded also 9-6, so a third more penalties by the Glasgow lads. As I mentioned, a couple of them were just plain soft ones you don't need to be doing. They had to make more tackles. Glasgow 145 to 114. A little bit more game defending. Matt Fagerson, 16 tackles, but also 4 turnovers conceded from him. Caden Murley, he is on fire. 2 line breaks out of the entire team's 4, so half of them. 121 metres is the most of the match. 4 defenders beaten, very sharp. Kyle Rose, 6 defenders beaten for Glasgow. Josh Mackay, 100-odd run metres as well. Cunningham South, man of the match. 13 tackles from him. But yeah, pretty good from the Quins lads. And, yeah, they kept Glasgow pretty quiet. Glasgow are a good team, but they just couldn't get things going against Harlequins today. You guys let us know your thoughts on the game. We'll wait and see how things pan out to see who these guys, or where they end up, come later on in the year as the competition continues. But, yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Talk to you guys again soon. See you later.